But
selection is
but
going
the
to
fact
happen either way.
remains, like, prior to that, I mean, that all came after after the war, like, during the Cold War era. And like, what you're referring to is the eugenics that we engaged in even before the Second World War.
Yes, right. The
Yeah, we
Nazis
taught
got their
Hitler
ideas from
basically
us.
everything
Yes.
because we were doing the same things
Yeah.
to, like, handicap people.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, the ice pick lobotomies that were going on in, like, the 50s. I think it was, I know it was like I
Sure.
think the 50s and 60s.
There were institutes where
Good
they were
times.
trying eugenics in the early 20th
I
century
mean,
that were
yeah,
actually left wing,
the whole Stepford Wives thing,
Rockefeller and stuff. Yeah.
that was actually a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Stepford Wives is a fictional account, but I mean, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like actually what was fucking going on.
Yeah.
If your wife got uppity or snippety or too whatever, you could just have her committed and have her put to a fucking ice pick lobotomy thing.
That's more the
They just
50s, I think, where they did the lobotomy stuff. Yeah. It was experimental and obviously was abused. It actually interesting, like, works in some
Late
cases.
50s,
They've never
early
explained it, but it did
like
work in some
it
cases.
started late 50s, early 60s, and became popular
Yeah.
all the way up until the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, like
They're
late
still
70s,
doing it.
early 80s.
Electroshock
They're still
therapy
doing
as
it.
well.
They're now doing it just with electricity instead of the ice pick. That's all.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy thing, but it actually did work in some ways. In some cases, although they never explained it, and I don't think it's ethical.
If you damage certain parts of the brain, your personality is going to shift.
Yeah, like you literally mash up someone's brain.
The frontal lobe, where the ice pick could reach, is the anger area type thing, where like
anger area.
Yeah, can't remember what they call it.
I'm getting it, bro. It's the anger area. Yeah.
The frontal lobe. And if you damage part of that, they can reduce anger fits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They also can make you a walking vegetable if they do it.
True, I agree. Obviously, obviously, ideally, you should know why you're doing what you're doing. But
the guy that came up with the ice pick lobotomy, who kind of made it famous because in his early workings, claimed about a 40% success rate, and a success rate would be, basically that you changed, you didn't kill the person,
yeah,
and
they became really docile.
Yeah, change the behavior.
Yeah. It is interesting. Can you imagine?
Zombies.
Right. I mean, this is like science. This is like Frankenstein level stuff where you just say, like, I'm just going to see what happens when I slice into a brain, and we'll see how it goes. But it did actually have some efficacy. It was not just pure insanity, and it did help some people.
If applied right, if applied in the right way, if too many ifs.
Yeah, no, I'm not endorsing it, but
right. And electroshock therapy is still being used, which it really shouldn't be.
Here's my question for you guys: if the Christian worldview, you can certainly say we have to deal with the problem of evil, and you can say there's no way you can deal with it, right? Okay, but Christians would say
we already went over this.
The Christians would say, of course, that we have a beautiful explanation for it, which is that it is only the appearance of a problem, that underneath it we have perfect love, perfect harmony, and that evil only serves to make good better. You don't have a solution, though.
Hold on. We don't need a solution. The simple reason is we don't believe the world is as it is, therefore cruel.
Okay, so
we don't expect the world to be nice.
Okay, so if you say the world is cruel and meaningless,
I didn't say meaningless. Okay. I didn't say meaningless. I said it can be cruel, and it can be cruel.
Okay, so what I'm saying is,
but it doesn't have a mind behind it, so therefore we expect it to be cruel.
Let's do this.
We expect it to be harsh.
Let's just say
we expect it to hurt.
Okay, right. So let's say in terms of marketing a worldview, okay, the Christian marketing thing and I'm not saying everyone's the same, the atheist marketing thing. Our view is the way you would tell a child about it, you would say, God, your father, loves you very much. He brought you into this world through mommy and daddy. And
so lying, so lying to begin with. Great.
Well, okay, you could call it lying. I'm just saying marketing, just straight marketing. He loves you very much. He knows every. Just let me finish. Just let me finish.
That's the problem. You try to put these little happy phrases on fucking lies.
Okay. I get it.
bullshit.
You're saying it's a lie. I'm saying leave aside that it's a lie. I'm just saying as straight marketing. Okay. And I'm saying you could see the appeal of it. Okay.
You
have a daddy in heaven, whatever you want to call it, spaghetti daddy.
You're not listening.
You won't let me even say it. That's how much you.
You're right.
That's how much you hate it.
Let you say
Why do you hate the story?
When you straw man my position, I'm not gonna let you to continue on. You're right. It's not gonna happen.
No, I'm gonna steel man your position. I'm gonna steel man your position.
You're not.
I'm just articulating my position. It has nothing to do with you straw manning anything. How can I straw me? I'm talking about the Christian proposition. How is it straw manning you?
Do I have to stop my moderator and actually mute you, or are you just going to shut the fuck up and let me finish? Okay. The problem that you're having with the words that you're using is you're trying to. All you're doing is what a con artist would do, and try and gift wrap this horrendous fucking lie into pretty picture and words. Your daddy and your mommy loves you very much, and God gave us this gift, and blah, blah, blah. All you're doing is lying and trying to gift wrap it in pretty fucking pastel colors.
Yes, I'm saying whether it's true or not, this is the pitch, and you can say it's a lie. I'm just saying it's very appealing. My simple point is it's very appealing. It's very appealing. You would have to admit that.
Yes,
it's
appealing.
You can.
That's all my only point.
Appealing.
It's very appealing. It's much more appealing than saying random things in the random universe and everything is just
lying to people. Yeah, people who are too ignorant about understanding how fabulous and wonderful the universe actually is, and all of its marvels and that. Yeah,
but here's the thing:
lies are very appealing to ignorant people.
Okay, so but here's the thing: your thing is only going to appeal to bitter people. It's not going to appeal to normal people who are happy and think the world is a good place to live, right? So
they're not happy. They're afraid of their mortality.
Okay, let me ask you this: does anyone in here have a good relationship with his father? Anyone? Does anyone in here?
Not anymore. My dad, not anymore. My dad's dead.
Okay. Did you have a good relationship with your father when he was alive?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound very convincing.
Well, I don't give a fuck whether it sounded convincing. That's the answer. Yeah.
Okay, you had a great relationship with your father.
I had a great relationship with my father.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad taught me how to ride. My dad taught me how to ride motorcycles, play baseball. Supported me in the military, and he passed away way too fucking soon.
And was he religious or anti-religious?
Hold on. Here's the thing. All right, I'm giving you that bit of information. Anything else about my personal life, it's none of your fucking business. So,
okay.
Yeah. What? I don't want to give out my.
I didn't. Of course. I didn't demand you give me information beyond that.
Yeah, but you laugh like.
Well, you're so defensive about it. It's ridiculous. Of course.
You're right.
How do I have access to any of your personal information?
It's not defensive. It's I don't know you, and it's none of your fucking business.
Well, I would say that's a little defensive.
That's not defensive.
It's a bit defensive.
Not defensive. That's just.
It's a bit defensive. It's a bit defensive. A bit, a tad, a smidge defensive.
My personal life is none of your fucking business.
Well, I have no access to your personal life other than what you tell me. So if you simply don't give that information, you don't have to say anything beyond that.
What he's saying is don't ask him anything else about his past stuff because he wants to keep it private.
Right, but he doesn't have to. He could just say, "I don't want." He didn't even have to tell me about his father. Of course, I'm not sitting here with a gun to his head. I'm just saying, if you want to share it, okay.
Oh, and the first thing out of your mouth was, that didn't sound very convincing.
Mm.
Okay, well, too fucking bad. So,
But your
here's
further
the rest
explanation
of it.
was convincing. It
Since-
was fairly convincing.
My further explanation, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but it doesn't matter. Here's the thing. All right, my private life is my private life. All right, and I'm telling you.
what are you
well,
doing
you can
behind
find
there,
it.
behind closed
You
doors?
can find it.
That you're
Hey,
so
asshole.
defensive about.
Hey, asshole. I wasn't done. In the middle of my sentence is the beginning of yours. It never will be. Understand that, okay? So, it's not defensive. It's just a matter of fact.
Okay, sure.
And nobody's personal life is any of your fucking business. No one.
Well,
Not mine,
if you
not
want to
Grodark's,
share it,
not-
it could be, but you don't have to, obviously. I mean, I don't even know what you look like. I don't even know your name. I mean,
It doesn't matter.
well,
Right.
I mean, I do think
So,
when you get
anyway,
to know someone, you get to know a little
you're
bit more
not-
about
you're
them.
not grasping-
It's fine.
You're not grasping the point purposely.
Just accept that he's not going to give you any.
I
more
mean,
information
Rockstar didn't
about his
have to
personal
go
life.
on camera. I don't know that he feels like he's a victim of going on camera, but I know what he looks like now, and I'm pleased.
I don't
to
care.
see him, but
Oh my god. He purposely is not.
if he
giving
came on camera and
the whole
said,
entire
he
point.
said, "Hey, I'm showing you my head,
Dude,
and I'm showing you my little beard
it
here,
doesn't-
but
it
I'm not
doesn't matter.
showing you
It
my
doesn't matter.
fucking neck,
Move
so
on.
don't even ask.
What is the
It'd be a little
what is the
crazy,
point?
dude."
What was the point? Hey Ben, you're about 2 seconds from actually
And
just getting
just
fucked.
I'm
calm
gonna
down.
take a break.
Just
I'm gonna
calm
take a
down.
break.
You're kind of annoying at this point.
Oh, I am annoying.
Because you
I am annoying.
can't seem to stay on track.
I'm annoying. I'm gonna
All right.
take a break. I'm gonna put my daughter will be here with my icon. Her name is Grace. She is
Nobody cares.
she.
Yeah,
Nobody
we met
cares.
her
Well,
last
you
night.
might. She's more open minded than me. Let's say
We
No,
talked
and
to her a little
nobody-
bit.
she's a
last
nice
night,
girl.
but yeah.
Hey guys, nice to see you again.
Hey, Grace.
What's up?
Not much. Anything on your mind today?
I just wanted to tell you guys that I do kind of respect you. I'm just listening in, but like, you really do know. I just find it interesting. You really do know a lot about the Bible, and like, I just find it interesting because like, I don't know much about Islam, right? But I wouldn't read the whole Quran and then get super angry and tell Muslims why the Quran is wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong that you do that.
I didn't even have to read the Quran
Yeah.
to point out certain factors because they brought things to me, and I asked them simple questions, and
Uh-huh.
the answers they gave showed that they don't know their own book. And I took 5 seconds to look things up on Google and went, yeah, well, this is here, this is here, this is here, this
Yeah.
statement's here. Oh yeah, by the way, I asked one guy whether or not there was any lines in his book that said, "Don't question authority."
Uh-huh.
And he said, "No, absolutely not. There's not." He said, "Absolutely not. There's not one
here's the
shred of
really
it."
amazing Grodark. Wait a minute. Here's the really amazing part of this is that Christians are doing exactly what they're accusing us of doing when they say you don't have any right to like interpret the scripture or whatever. Like, but a lot of us are going back to the Jewish understandings and looking at how the Jews interpreted their own scriptures, and it's the Christian revisionism and the cultural appropriation that takes place where Christians take it out of context, twist it, take it completely out of historical and cultural context, and twist it to fit whatever narrative they want. And that is the definition, that is the epitome of cultural misappropriation. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what modern Christians do.
I'm not
to the
saying I'm not saying you don't have a right to interpret the Bible or whatever. I'm just saying what you said
No,
there.
no. Look, I'm going back to the
Wait, can I
source
just make a
on
point?
this.
Can I just make a
It's
point
the-
related to what you said
Sure,
there?
but I just want you to understand. I'm looking at the Jewish interpretations of their texts. It's
Yes,
not a Christian
but
text.
isn't-
The Old Testament is a Jewish text.
I just think you guys are more like you're not so much atheists as you are like religious critics, which I think is totally fine. But like
No,
you're so
No, no,
invested.
hold on, Grace,
Yeah.
Grace, before you get people yelling at you.
Yeah.
The only thing atheist means is we do not believe in a God. We might understand the text better because we have to defend our position over and over and over again through these people that don't seem to know their own words.
But
Well,
see,
there
when
are
you
people
when
that
you say it like
literally-
that, wait, when you
Most
say it
people
like
don't
that,
Please let me finish. Please let me
Okay.
finish. Okay.
yeah.
There
Go
are
ahead.
people that I have dealt with that literally said this to me. A guy on a bus I had a conversation with about religion. I asked him, where's he get his information from? His exact words were, my preacher told me.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And that's the limit of his understanding
Well, and
is his
and here's
preacher
another
told him.
here's
Most
another
people
thing,
don't
right?
have.
But
most
that's just a
Christians-
personality difference, though. Like you're
No,
really
no,
interested in
that's
going into the
lack of
depths.
education.
But for thousands of years,
Right.
like
Look, but
people
don't
don't
make-
know everything about their religion. Like I haven't even read the entire Bible.
Well-
it's not necessary.
Well, that-
But I
and
just
and
think
that's
that.
the
But it's
problem.
cool that you
And that's
guys are
the
that
problem.
interested. It's cool that you guys
Wait,
are that
hold
interested.
on.
Therein lies the
I
problem.
want
Therein
you to
lies the problem.
understand something. I want you to
Am I coming
understand
through?
something.
Yeah,
Don't
I can
make
hear
the
you.
mistake of assuming.
Okay.
Yeah, don't
Well,
make the mistake of
then
assuming
why?
one.
Then why?
Hold on. One at a time.
Well, I've been trying to get in, but
Okay.
to try and get Grace to understand this. Grace, here's the problem. Okay, most people, most Christians, in their life will never read the entirety of the Bible.
Yeah, that's
okay?
true. Yeah.
Right. Okay, we read it, and that's a lot. Well, I won't say most. A lot of atheists became atheists because they actually read the Bible cover to cover and realized that, oh shit, it doesn't
True.
make sense. This is a book of monsters.
I'm sure that's true to some extent. But
That's
like
true to a lot of extent.
the point
is
the point that I'm making though is that a lot of people also won't read the complete works of Shakespeare, but people who are really interested in English and literature will. So like that's not saying like, well, Shakespeare isn't real because a lot of people don't read it. Most Americans will never read the complete works of Shakespeare. That doesn't mean that it's not real or good.
The complete works of Shakespeare are fiction.
Yeah.
But I'm not making a point about the genre. I'm saying if a lot of people don't pursue something to its full intellectual extent, that doesn't mean that it's not right or good or beautiful.
No, but it is.
And
I
they
mean, I
shouldn't.
think it is-
Then they shouldn't
I
be
think
trying
it
to
is-
push
but
laws.
Please, let me
But
respond
there's
to
nothing
this.
right
Look,
or
I think it
beautiful
is-
about a psychopathic,
That's not the
entity.
problem.
Yeah, it is the problem. This is
No.
this point because
The real problem, as I see
like
it,
he's trying here.
Hold on.
Let me
Hold
finish.
on.
Let me finish my point before you. All right, Grace. I get where you're going with this, and
Mm-hmm.
with the whole it doesn't make it good or real. The thing is, if you actually read the Bible and read the things that are said and proposed in this thing, you would realize that there's nothing good about it. It is a book of
Well,
time
that's not
after
even by
time
your own
of atrocities.
even by your own
and-
definitions though, you wouldn't say there's nothing good about the Bible. Some of Jesus's teachings,
There's
I'm
nothing
sure you
good
would
about it.
agree with. I'm sure some things in the Bible you would agree with. Right?
No,
There is
not
some
really.
reserve.
I don't need. Here's the thing. Anything that was good, that even if Jesus existed and it was these philosophies and things existed prior to him. We knew, everybody already knew that treating your neighbor, loving your neighbor is good.
No,
The
that
golden
is
rule
not
is
true.
good.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it was.
It actually
No,
is.
pagan
The
Roman
golden
culture
rule-
was
the
terrible.
Golden rule, ma'am. Grace.
No, it really wasn't. To be
No,
honest.
no.
It
So
wasn't any worse
the
than
It was
any other.
disgusting. It was
the golden
disgusting.
Rule,
There,
Grace.
you
Hold
take that as common
I was
sense
gonna
because
say,
you were
Grace,
raised in a
hold on,
Christian
hold on.
culture. You take that as common
Grace,
sense because you were raised in
I-
a Christian culture.
Grace.
Grace, hold on.
Okay,
Hold on.
sorry. Go ahead.
I know
Right.
I know in
The golden rule existed before Jesus did.
Can
All
you hold on, Grace? Can you tell me what was so horrible about the Romans that did not apply to the Israelites?
I don't know that much about not applying to the Israelites, but I know the Romans had like orgies. They had the Colosseum. I mean, there was just it was a tribal culture. Like they just killed and took over places.
Oh
And
no, that
they
wasn't
treated
tribal.
women like animals. Not tribal, but
They
I
did-
mean pagan. Like it was like there was no like love your neighbor concept.
I don't know
It
where
was
you're
just
getting
there
it was
was.
just we have
There
power.
was.
We'll kill you. We'll rape your women. I mean that there was no love your neighbor concept.
Okay. So it's okay for God to say to his people, to save the Canaanite young women for themselves. That wasn't rape and pillage and murder, was it?
I don't know.
so-
I'm not the
so-
person to ask about this because
if it-
I don't think that the
is it
Bible can
okay-
be interpreted
Really?
by just anybody.
That's not an
Get back to the
interpretation.
point.
That's not an interpretation.
I don't know what he
God
meant by that. I don't know. It's
commanded.
it's an extremely
commanded.
old text that I think you
God
have to
commanded.
understand.
Hold on.
God commanded Moses to tell the generals to kill every man, woman, and boy and girl that has been touched by a man, but to keep the young ones for themselves. That is in the Bible. That is what was
Young
commanded.
women for themselves. Young women who have not been touched by a man.
So basically, man, keep the virgins for themselves. All right.
I don't know how to
For-
explain that
so-
verse.
for
I don't know what was
sexual
going on in that
slavery.
verse.
So,
I don't
No,
know. I
there's
don't
no
know.
interpretation. There's no interpretation. It's plain text. Go kill these people. Keep the young virgins for yourself, so you can make them the sex slaves in a year.
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
It's plain. There's no interpretation here. It's plain text.
I mean, yeah, there's a translation.
At the same
issue, but, I mean,
time,
that's
Grace is
why-
making these baseless claims that Romans were these
About Rome.
barbaric animals that slaughtered everyone they saw. But
Well,
the
Romans were
English
barbaric.
words
That
that are
doesn't
written
make
down
my
in the
point
translated
untrue. That doesn't make
Bible
my
are
point
some
untrue.
foreign
No, let
language
me
that is
explain.
impossible
No,
to
wait,
comprehend.
guys. Let me explain it. Hold on.
What does barbaric mean to you?
the height of civilization at its time, during its time.
What does barbaric mean?
What's barbaric mean to
Do you
you?
understand that Rome represented
I
the
would
height of
say
civilization?
a society based on power and dominance and violence.
Not necessarily.
So everything, every society is barbaric.
You know what? That's a good
Barbaric.
point. I don't know. It means
I know.
something. I don't know what. It means
Hey, Grace.
something
No, but
specific.
look, I would like
Serious
to get back to the point.
question.
I mean, I guess so.
You had a problem with the Romans and their orgies, and we even know that the Egyptians and every civilization, even the Europeans, did it. What's the problem with it? I mean, orgies are fucking fun.
Okay, so can I get
I
back
don't know,
to
I
the
never
point
participated.
No,
trying to
I'm
make?
actually being very fucking serious. You may not. I'm being serious because that's the thing.
Holy
What's
shit.
the problem with it?
What's
If
the problem with
consenting adults
orgies?
Yeah. If consenting adults do it, consent to it. What
Can
is
I
the
get back to
fucking
my
I don't know.
problem?
You want to find
No,
out?
you can't.
In Roman times, babies conceived out of wedlock were often left to die
That's a lie.
of exposure.
That's a lie.
That's not true.
Some cultures did do that, like I think it was like the Spartans or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe.
Nope. The
Spartans,
Spartans left their weak children to die, not their bastards.
Yeah. If they were
Yeah,
looked
but
upon
they-
and like
Well-
they weren't like strong and stuff like that, if they were deemed weak and not of warrior class, then yeah, they were died. They were died off.
Yeah, and that's why they were weak. It's the only time that somebody might be killed as a bastard was due to being born to royalty, and that was through all cultures, not just any one culture.
I mean, if you want to argue for the morality, like that, there's no such thing as sexual morality in any way, shape, or form. I don't think you would hold that. But you would say between consenting adults, there can never be activity that is immoral.
morality in that sense is based on one's own personal judgment or the judgment of their God, which makes it subjective any way you look at it.
Okay, so
Because all morality is subjective.
all morality. So
Are they
raping a child
Yeah.
is subjective or no?
Just to be clear, now your goalpost shifting because before it was between two consenting adults, and now it's
Adults.
raping a child.
Okay,
Yeah,
which would
okay,
okay,
be-
but how can
Yeah,
it just
my-
be
okay,
subjective within
my
that
thing-
realm? That's
my
not.
thing-
You're saying
the
it's
thing-
subjective
okay,
and
okay.
The thing that
objective.
Drake
Just to
brought
be clear,
up.
it doesn't matter because your goalpost shifted either way.
Hold on. I'll explain this. I'll explain
Get
this.
fucking modded.
I'll explain this. Okay, then it's real simple. Okay,
Mhm.
there are cultural norms that people go to and see about. These things
Yeah.
are done for the greater good of society. They are not based on religion. They're based on what's best for society. Harming children in any way is harming the future of that population. Yes.
But you're saying the laws are always like for the best of society. There can be laws that are not
I didn't
for the
say
best
law.
of
I didn't say.
society.
I didn't say
Go ahead.
laws. I didn't say laws.
Anything.
We never said laws. It said morality. Now, is
Getting aggravating
harming
every
a
time you know
child?
what you're saying is, and
It
it's
is
not
harm-
what
Hold
anybody's
I
on.
saying.
really
Hold
love
on,
these two
hold
guys. I think you guys are
They're-
great.
Is
Okay.
harming a child
Mhm.
good for society or bad for society?
Well, the Spartans believed that like having their sons involved in like really tough, like brutal, what we would call child abuse was good for society because it would make them tough warriors. But we would call that child abuse today.
Training your child in a harsh way to do combat is still practiced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
South
it's called-
Korea, North Korea.
not like the Spartan, not like the
Even in
Spartans.
the United States, there are. Hold on, whoa. Oh, well, here we go. Not as hard as the Spartans, dude. Do you understand? Do you understand that we send kids to like a military camp when they're acting out of certain way? Like those things still exist where they're the PT and taught drills and going out into the forest and land nabbing and all that shit. So we don't call that child.
We don't as a
So,
society, but some parents do that.
Nice fucking straw man there, buddy.
Okay.
That's-
I don't know what this has to do with atheism.
Hold on. You brought this up, and I'm trying to show the morality that you're trying to put forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Well,
All
we
right,
disagree
so-
about morality, okay, but that's not really
Okay, hold
atheism.
on. Let me. Yes, it does,
okay.
because your morality is based off of your book and off of your God.
That's not how
Now,
Catholics
the
see
question,
it. That's not how Catholics.
yes, it is. Yes, it very much is. Catholics see
No.
it as God is all good, so that anything God does is good. Therefore, it's good. That's called divine command theory, and a lot of Catholics follow it.
Oh,
A lot
okay.
of Christians follow it.
Divine command theory
Divine
has
command
to
theory
do
is
with
absolutely horrible way of viewing the
divine
world.
command theory has to do with interpreting the Old Testament.
No.
Doesn't have to do-
It has nothing to do with interpreting.
No.
Anything God does is good, even if it's bad.
No, that's not divine command theory.
That is divine command theory
That
in a
is.
nutshell. This is why Islam believes in a lot of Islam believes in divine command theory.
Yes.
They can't question their prophets. Their prophets go ahead and do what?
I understand.
Well,
Usually a
this sort of
warrior-
reminds me of
warrior,
that
whatever.
whole manifest destiny thing, right? Like if
They
God
all-
allows it, then it is correct.
Yep, that's divine command theory. Period.
That's manifest
they-
destiny.
They order people to go and kill people in the name of God. Why did they do this? And why did they follow it out? Because they
I'm
believe in it.
Why aren't they right now? But that's just me.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
there is it Korean karate? Is Taekwondo Korean karate? I think it is, right?
Taekwondo. Maybe.
Is that Korean or
Jiu-jitsu or something.
or something else?
There's
Don't know.
several martial arts.
Well, no, the Taekwondo literally is a martial arts form from a specific nation.
Mm.
a
Karate's
lot of
Japanese, I know that.
It's kind of.
Well, I knew a family in America that were, I think, in North or South Korean that were taught family style Taekwondo.
Mm-hmm.
They had their own style,
Mm-hmm.
and me and the two brothers had a little competition. one at a time, and I won. Now, I'm a white boy, and I beat them in fighting, in martial arts.
Mm.
The next day, his brother is limping, got black and blue marks on his shoulders.
You were fighting.
And
You were fighting children.
I was a kid too.
Oh, okay.
Can you listen to the story and like shut the fuck up?
All right.
Seriously?
And then I asked the brothers what happened.
Yeah.
And the brothers told me that their father was mad at the older son. I asked why, for losing? No, for disrespecting you for losing. He trained him extra hard and basically put marks on him so he would know you don't disrespect a better fighter.
He disrespected you?
He disrespected me.
How?
And his father, he said lots of things about how a white boy shouldn't be able to fight that good. That little things that you'd expect someone who lost, who thought he was a great fighter,
Oh, I see.
would say when they lose.
Okay.
And his
Coping.
father basically punished him during training for doing so.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Not for losing the fight,
Right.
but for disrespecting the other fighter.
Sure. Honor culture.
And I'm like, now is that child abuse or is that punishment?
Is what? Having him
training him that hard and leaving marks on him.
I would not say that's necessarily child abuse, but could be if it was.
I mean, hey, in gladiator school, you could get cut up with a blade.
So
but I don't know what we're arguing. You're arguing that your morality is different than my morality. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't-
but
what does that have to do with atheism?
you don't know what we're arguing because you keep jumping around so much. You cannot stay.
I'm
on
jumping
point
around
at all.
All right.
Yeah, you are. Now, here's the thing. Morality is different for everyone, okay? Now, social morality, such as things like, not harming children. Well, what's harming children? What limit to it? I mean, physically, sexually molesting them and hurting them can cause psychological damage. So, yeah, that's bad. The physical harm that comes from it, that's bad. And the fact that they might commit suicide afterwards is bad for society as a whole.
Okay, but we don't just
all
rant.
add up to bad for society.
We don't.
Therefore, social morality says that harming children in that way is bad.
You want to hear my controversial take on the whole? It's not the only, but it's another reason why like molesting children sexually is a bad idea. Like,
Not
because
really.
you don't want to ruin them for like when they actually fall in love with somebody and they're like, oh yeah, well I've already.
Yeah,
They might not want to have. I mean, they might not want to have children after that either, because they might think their partner will do that.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
they might
that's
not
a good point.
They might
That's
not
a good
want to.
point you raised.
But everyone would agree with that. Everyone would agree with that.
Well,
of
I've
course.
noticed. I've noticed with a lot of the what do you call them? Hookers, crack fiends, and whatever junkie bitches that I see on the street every day. Well, I've noticed that they charge people for sex because they don't like to do it. They feel like they deserve compensation for letting a man touch them because they're like sick of it. But it's very, very sad.
That's
I agree.
a form of social Darwinism. That's where a lot of morals come from. Is society says these things are bad because they harm the society. And that's something we've developed over years. The same with murder, same with robbery, same with sexual assault. All of these things are bad because they harm society as a whole.
Okay, but Grok, I'm not sure what this has to do with atheism, but you're saying
you said that under my view of the orgies and stuff that the Romans were having was immoral, and then you went on to thing and you mentioned, well, then child abuse wouldn't be immoral. And I'm like, no, this is why it's immoral. And you can't even pay attention to that, man. I'm sorry. That's just
wait. I didn't say anything
bad.
about orgies. I just said
Do you
that.
need me to list the reasons why orgies are immoral? Orgies are not moral, and not everyone in Rome was in the orgies. That's something.
Orgies are. What is wrong with an orgy if everyone's willing?
If everybody's fucking each other in the same room, like who's the father when the bitches get pregnant? That's
Who
just for
cares?
starters.
Well, it's a problem
here's the
because
thing,
in the '60s they
okay,
had these
so-
like free love places in it, and there was a lot of murder that occurred because of jealousy and things like that.
So
It's not a stable
so
environment for
here,
children.
I'm gonna let's educate the ignorant one, okay? When we participate in orgies, there is contraceptives, there's rules and everything that go into this. Not everybody is just fucking going around. See, what we are smart.
Now, what if I
about
don't like
how we-
contraceptives?
Shut
I
the fuck
refuse to wear
up.
condoms.
Shut the fuck
Fuck
up.
off.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Eat
Okay,
shit.
here's the thing. You know what? Go ahead and mute him for 5 minutes for that.
Or
All right. All right. This is Franco. That was just trollish, uncalled for, and absolutely rude.
Yep. So
Now, I'm not. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to unmute you until you apologize to me for it.
No, it's going to be at least 5 minutes. I don't care if he apologizes or not. All right? Because I'm over here grading this, so I'm concentrating. So my mic's left open, and I shouldn't have to keep going and telling people like to stop fucking interrupting, and have to moderate them. So,
I'm not too concerned about that part. I'm more concerned about what he said.
Yeah. So, let's get back to the education. So when I participate, and when many of the people that are in this community participate in orgies and stuff like that, we do it responsibly. All right, we wear, we make sure that everybody is protected. Right? To participate in this actually has to have a updated STD test. You have to bring that. Contraceptives are mandatory, unless you're using it on your own partner. On that, you cannot go and bear on someone else's person, like that. And just as an extra precaution, day after pills are actually provided for them, just in case an accident happens in a condom breaks and things like that. So, you're ignorant on how these things are conducted. So, like,
We were talking about the Roman
favor.
Empire, not about you.
Shut the fuck up. No, you're not talking about the Roman Empire. Because
Hold
my
on,
question,
How would
my
I know how
question-
you conduct an orgy? I don't.
The question was, what is so wrong with an orgy and consenting adults? And you brought up, well, then who's the father?
Oh no, the
Right?
other guy. The
Well,
other
guess
guy
what?
did.
Oh,
Yeah.
the other guy brought
Orgies-
that up. The other guy brought that up. No, but you did bring up well, then what's wrong with, then was child molestation bad? And and it is a gold shift, and that is a rude thing to say, but I think I explained it well enough, right?
And by the way, in my room, if you do that shit ever again, you will be fucking banned. Like,
Do you guys realize you're terrific entertainers? You guys should make like a living doing this. Would you ever want to?
I make a really good because I make a really, really, really good living doing what I'm currently doing as a heavy equipment operator, as a finished blade hand.
Well, I mean, if you ever wanted to, well, go ahead.
You're right. I've been offered many a times in that.
You're really, really funny. I mean, you're very endearing people, both of you, I think. But anyways, you want me to tell you from a Christian point of view what the problem with that kind of a sexual situation would be? I mean, yeah, it's fairly obvious what it would be. It's sort of meaningless, loveless.
It was kind of a thing, and it was because Grace brought it up, like, the Romans and their orgies, and I'm like, well, what is the problem with with orgies? Because they were done by consenting adults, and orgies are fun. So, like, really, what is the fucking problem? You don't like to have fun? It was kind of rhetorical.
Right.
I will say this though. There are some aspects of the Roman orgies that might not have been really good in modern view, but that's taking modern view back to a historical time when certain things were more accepted.
Yeah, anachronism.
Keep that in mind too.
Right.
Requiring certain slaves to join in and things like that.
Oh
That
yeah,
was probably bad.
in that.
They
Yeah.
did have really young people involved in some cases. Bad.
But
That was that time period where lots of things like that happened anyways in other situations, in other places.
But there are many people,
So-
whether or not they're religious, who would say, that sounds like a kind of meaningless sexual activity. It doesn't really have the aspects of intimacy that should come with sexuality.
Are you fucking kidding me?
People will say that. I'm sure people would say that.
Yeah,
I'm sure people would say that. But they also would not participate in them, so who gives a care?
Yeah, okay, that's different than saying they should be illegal. I'm just saying, if a man asks his wife, "Hey, do you want to go to an orgy tonight?" and there's going to be all this kind of stuff, she'll say, "That's crazy."
That depends on the woman. I just
Typically.
Okay. Here's the thing. I had a woman ask me if I do a three-way with her and another guy, and I was like, no, not my thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so then she asked me she was like, I guess my girlfriend at the time. I really didn't love her. I knew that, and I was like, and I didn't want to deny her pleasure, so I said, okay, go ahead. I had no problem with that.
With what?
Because she asked me.
You know, what's really funny is people that have never participated in this and understand how much of an intimate, and connecting experience that something like that is. So when I hear things like that, people would say that they're not, they're not like you're speaking from a position of ignorance. Absolute fucking ignorance.
So you have to participate in an orgy to say, "I wouldn't do that"?
No, but you would have to if you to say that that an orgy it is not connecting. Like there's no intimacy.
Well, it is less
Because you
intimate if you
haven't-
have 25 people having sex with each other than 2 people. It's less intimate.
I don't know about that. I mean, I could picture,
That's called a fucking gangbang, not necessarily an orgy. All right, an orgy is things where is a sexual activity in the presence of other people.
Well,
again,
many people would say
doesn't
that sex
mean
belongs between 2
only
people
one-on-one.
in
Intimate
privacy.
connection
You can
A lot of-
say, "I think
a
the
lot of
more the
Christians would-
merrier,"
a
and
lot
let's
of
turn the
Christians-
cameras on. I just don't know what the point is.
A lot of Christians will say that. Now, I got a question for you.
Non-Christians too.
And is Grace listening, Ben?
She is. She's
or
right
not?
here. She's right here.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. So don't take this the wrong way, dear, but I'm going to ask him a question, and it might be a little sensitive to you, so I want him to answer honestly, so don't judge him for it, okay?
Okay.
If you had the opportunity for your wife, who you really, really love, and you and her both found a female that you really, really liked, would you have a three-way with her and that other woman?
Well, I'm not married.
If your wife was into it.
I'm not married, but you're saying if I theoretically was?
How
mean,
about a girlfriend? Anything
I'm
like that.
putatively
If you found
married,
two
but-
women you found attractive and they wanted to have a three-way, would you?
No.
Good. That just means no. That good.
You
because,
sure?
I'm not. I can't tell you in the heat of the moment. I mean, of course, you could say in the heat. I have had.
hey, you know what? Hey, leave your answer as no because that
Okay.
just means more women for me. and I'm okay. And I'm okay with that because I've had, I've been to a place, private homes and places of business where orgies are. Have been. I've been involved in them.
Not only would you get the third woman, you'd get the wife too, because I'd say that's it. So you can have those type of women, absolutely.
Okay.
I would never continue a relationship with a woman who proposed that.
Because she wanted to explore her sexuality, you would divorce her.
think
Yeah, that would
when-
be
when
over. That would be
people-
game over. Yeah.
Yeah. When
Wow.
when people think
What?
of orgy, they think of a particular kind of orgy, right? Things they see in porn, right? But there are other kinds of orgies. For example, orgies where it's organized and you know the people. It's not like you go in a party event and everyone fucks. That exists as well, right? But there are these planned orgies, right? And
Orgies.
it can be more intimate because you don't like put your dick in like every once, like you just rotate like every minute or something. You know like the other person, right? You either maybe you just have sex with your partner, right? And you're just in the presence of the others, right? That happens too.
Or maybe you just like watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the intimate the part that is more intimate is that you realize a lot of things that you wouldn't before, like a lot of things that other humans do, a lot of angst or like fears you have, but you can see them. You can like after talk about it and see, I never saw it that way, or oh, that's also possible. Like it can be very deeply psychological. It's not just oh we fuck and then we leave and we're happy.
Yeah, it's not about just going and fucking a bunch of random people. Like, there's a lot to be learned by interacting with other people. You know, and in a setting.
But I think we've gotten off track here. A lot.
You guys are convincing me more and more.
But the point being that morality is subjective. Whether it's subjective to your God, subjective to yourself, but morality is also based on social norms that have come about through our interactions with the world and everything else. And people are influenced by their surroundings for what they find their morals from.
Oh,
my morals
Lord.
are different than my parents' morals.
Morality is subjective. You're not really going to say that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is.
Okay, so if we bring up the like sexually hurting a young child, you're not going to say that's subjective. You're going to say objectively that's wrong.
It is.
No,
we already did that.
No. We already went over that. You weren't paying attention. Danny can explain it again if you want to. But basically,
sure your dad went over that.
Everything is subjective. The question is.
But that in and of itself is an objective statement. Everything is subjective is an objective statement.
No.
Because if that was subjective...
Yeah, sure, everything's subjective. If everything's subjective, it is objective. I did not say objective statements are wrong. I said morality is subjective. There's a difference there.
Well, wait. But if you say morality is subjective, that would imply that truth is subjective.
No, truth is not subjective.
Yes, because it's true whether something is moral or not. So if morality is subjective, then truth is subjective. But you just said everything is subjective, which is an objective truth.
Grace, you have I know that you're getting worked up. Excuse you a minute. I know you're getting worked up on that. All right, but you have to listen to the responses instead of talking over the responses.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'll try. Hold on, Ramon, no, I'll handle it. Okay, let me do this.
There is something we're missing that is essential, right? And the thing that we're missing that essential is that even if, by the way, I'm an atheist and I don't agree that morality is necessarily subjective, but it's another topic. But even if morality is subjective, right? When I say murder is wrong, we can apply that objectively, right? We can say, okay, this person was murdered. We can objectively observe that this person was murdered, right? And we can say, according to my rule, that would be wrong, right? The rule itself, though, isn't necessarily subjective or objective, but you can apply it. That's a big difference, right?
Morality. Hold on. Morality is subjective. Laws are objective. Laws are written in stone. They are not subjective. They can be changed later on by doing things again, but laws themselves are objective. Morality is subjective. Now, the easiest way to view this is
laws are the same thing as morality. It's the exact same.
No, they're not, Rano. And don't talk over me again, or I'm going to mute you. Okay, so there are Grace, would you agree there are tribes in the jungles that practice cannibalism?
Yes.
in your perspective of the morality, is cannibalism bad?
Yes.
Do you have reasons other than God to say it's bad?
I would say it goes against nature.
Okay,
And conscience.
I can buy that.
And conscience.
I can buy that too. It goes past empathy. But the fact that there are tribes that do that in their worldview, in their subjective and social order, it is absolutely fine.
Wait, but aren't you confusing two different things? People may be wrong about things and have different subjective perspectives, but that doesn't mean that overall it's wrong or right.
Wait, but Grok, then you'd have to say slavery is fine for the Israelites. So your whole argument about slavery in the Bible goes in the garbage.
I'm not saying that what was going on is good. I'm saying morality is subjective. And since they're subjective, morality changes over time.
Then you can't criticize the Israelites for having slaves.
Hey, Ben, stop. When we're in the middle of a conversation on a topic, stop introducing a new topic.
Okay. Now,
that's starting to piss me off.
Now, what I'm saying is, back then, their morality said it was good. Our modern day morality says it's bad.
Right.
Morality changes. That's specifically why it cannot be objective. Because if morality changes, then it obviously is subjective. Because subjective things change, objective things do not change.
But
Now, I did say in the Bible that they support slavery and condone slavery, and the Bible says it's unchanging. And the Bible also says God's will is unchanging, and Jesus' will is unchanging. Therefore, if this is true, all of that is true, then God is evil. Yes, because he is unchanging.
If you say that...
according to your own religion, God is unchanging. According to your own religion, Jesus did not change a jot or tittle of the law. In your own book, this is what is written.
True, but that has to be interpreted.
So in that aspect, your Bible supports slavery, and it does.
Okay, but if you were to say that people used to believe that the Earth was under a firmament, right? And
some still do, but
yeah, sure. Sure.
But that has nothing to do with subjective morality.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, we're moving to different topics again. I just fucking said, don't do that.
Well, I'm using an analogy.
See, you are literally you're not using an analogy. You're not using an analogy. You're changing the topic completely. That has nothing to do with subjective morality.
You didn't let me make
that has to do with intellectual knowledge, which is different subject entirely.
Okay, but I'm using an example. So
is
there such a thing as intellectual?
It's changing the goalpost.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a topic.
If you say that intellectual knowledge is objective, okay, that's fine. Then it's not subjective.
No, intellectual knowledge can be gained, but the old knowledge doesn't disappear. It just gets replaced with the newer knowledge.
But it is seen
as wrong. The old knowledge is still able to be looked up.
But it's incorrect.
Wrong.
It's incorrect.
It's incorrect, yes.
Okay, so it's incorrect.
It has nothing to do with being good or bad. It's just incorrect.
No, I'm saying I agree with you. It's different than morality.
Okay. Right.
But
so
would you say that?
So why is there something that has nothing to do with morality to morality?
Okay, let's go to morality.
That is a category error.
It's generally true that humans have come to see that slavery is wrong, though they did not see that in the past. Would you say that that is objectively true?
That's called social Darwinism.
It's not called social Darwinism.
That's what that's called.
No,
social Darwinism.
Social Darwinism is the belief that natural selection also acts within humanity to separate the good from the bad.
Social Darwinism is how our morals change over time because of how it makes it better for society with certain morals in place. That's why certain laws seem to be all over the place. Now,
that's not what social Darwinism is.
Yes, it is. It's called social Darwinism.
No.
Yeah. Literally, yes.
It's fine. You want to just say that. It's not true. You look up social Darwinism. It won't say the idea that morality changes over time. It won't say that.
No, it just says it in much more detail.
Social Darwinism is the
As
belief
a
that the
species-
principles of Darwinism of selection, etc., apply to human beings in the same way, and therefore the rich being rich and the poor being poor is a natural process by which nature selects superior over inferior. That's what social Darwinism is. But, okay.
That is not the one. That's the made up bullshit by an extremist who wanted to keep the world as is with people being rich because they're rich.
I believe many people in the West believe in social Darwinism when they say like poor people shouldn't be helped because we're eliminating the weak. It's a capitalistic. There's different versions of social
I don't know
Darwinism.
where you're reading that from, but that's not what it's supposed to mean. It is
Founded by
simply the
John
fact that-
Galton, who was the nephew of. But you're talking about moral relativism. You're talking about a theory called moral relativism, where you're saying society relativism is based on the society. So social.
Okay.
So okay,
This is
that's
where
a theory.
you're gonna stop
It
talking.
falls apart though.
Okay.
That theory falls
No, it
apart.
Here's where you're gonna stop-
doesn't fall
stop
apart.
talking.
That doesn't
Social
fall apart at all.
Social Darwinism is defined. Okay, I wanted to make sure that I was still connected. Okay, it is defined. Social Darwinism is the loose set of ideologies that applies Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection to human society, suggesting that the fittest individuals are the groups that will naturally rise to the top, while the less fit will fail. It's
Right.
often been associated with survival of the fittest. It's also been
Okay, so maybe I was wrong on that. Because I was told that was the other one.
Hold on. Well, no, because it fits on many of them. So it's been used to justify various social inequalities and political views, including imperialism and eugenics.
Right.
Which it also can apply to our moral constructs.
Well, you added that.
Yeah, I added the end, but yeah,
Okay.
because it can.
So the whole thing I was making my point, then you added something. Just because an atheist says something doesn't mean it's true.
Oh my God,
He's admitting he was wrong about that. Okay, no shade. He just misunderstood.
I could have been a different term, but I understood that was what social Darwinism was.
Sure.
It could be a different term. It could be social moral realism.
Totally fine. Totally fine. Totally fine.
But it also is being used to justify other things within politics and also political ideologies, which also political ideologies also involve moral frameworks. So
yes,
both are correct. And like I said, Ben, this is your last chance that if you try and talk over me one more fucking time, you will be banned here. Understood?
Patrick, keep in mind that you do have that that little bit of lag there because you're mobile.
But he's been doing it. Every time like something gets said, he feels that it's his turn to jump in, and he's been warned and warned and warned. Right. I've been being nice about it because of.
Yep.
I know
you guys could politely ask me to leave. That's no problem. You have the right to do that. I'm not here to like torture
like I said,
you.
if you want to take a break for a little while, that's fine. But that's up to you, man.
I mean, I'm happy to continue the conversation.
Okay. All right.
No problem.
Just
you can mute me anytime you want. I have no problem with that. I don't have a problem with authority.
Yeah. Just try to keep in mind things, because some of us are more sensitive than others.
Sure. And I just want to say I really appreciate you saying like maybe I had that one wrong. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. I could have it mixed up. It could have been something else. I mean, I'm willing to say that when I think something's not quite right.
I appreciate that.
But the thing is though that it is basically that we build our morality based on a lot of factors. My parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, so I got some morals from them. I got morals from society around me, from going to school and stuff. I also got some really screwed up, I don't want to say screwed up, but different moralities from watching things like anime and cartoons that put more moral frameworks on things that I saw.
I I agree
which are
with that.
just as valid as the Bible, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, you're talking about for we would call it.
if I can't get a turn in, right? I'm waiting for a
Eco.
long time. I requested a turn multiple times.
Eco,
about-
like talk like that is not going to
I'm
get
done.
get you unmuted at all. You can stay muted.
All right. So you see what I mean? I learned some things of honor from watching these things. Like, and it stuck with me. Like,
Okay, well,
I'm trying to think
Eco,
of what situation I can share without being too rude.
Grodark, go ahead and kick
just
Eco.
disconnect him, or
Nope.
is he banned?
Oh no, they're banned. When you talk about eat shit and die.
Oh, okay, he did that. Okay, yeah. Sorry, man, that breaks TSO.
Yeah.
Oh, you got him already?
No, go ahead. That violates terms of service.
No, you already got him. You already got him. I didn't get a chance to.
Zombies with Jesus did it.
Yep, you did.
Zombies with Jesus did it, not.
Zombie did. Okay, doesn't matter. Somebody got him. All right. But here's okay. I'm gonna relay a story that's a bit long, but bear with me.
Sure.
When I was like 16, 17 years old, my parents took me to this place. It was basically a rich man summer camp, as far as I could tell. But it was all run down and stuff. We basically we usually had shacks to ourselves and stuff like that. That had a bathroom and things in it. Not really my style of place. It was really good for really young kids and for adults, but the tweens and teens, nothing really to do there. Met some old friends from another resort and got along, and these two girls that were in their 20-somethings, and we got along and we were having fun and get to know each other. And then one day there was a softball game, and of course it was staff versus guests, and of course the guests won. So the two girls and my two friends went to celebrate, and I know they drink, so I'm not surprised they're drinking. And they were gone for one of them was gone. They were gone away for a little while. I was starting to get a D&D game going with some of the other older kids that were there, and one of the girls comes running out of the woods. She's upset. She's a little disheveled, slightly drunk, acting. And I asked her what's wrong, and out of her mouth was, "What do you think?" Now, she went off with guys. I know they were drinking. And she came out slightly disheveled and saying, "What do you think?" What do you think went through a 17-year-old's mind?
That you were sexually assaulted. That she was sexually assaulted.
That's exactly what I thought right away. I packed up my shit. I said, "Sorry, guys, got to deal with this." And started taking my bag back with her into the cabin, put my bag away. And we were talking. She's like, "Oh, I guess I'll just stay on the beach tonight. I don't want to stay with my friend. And she was like, I don't want to stay alone." And blah, 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 blah. And like, "No, you're not staying out on the beach all night. That's not going to happen." And now, there was no way this beautiful 20-something-year-old woman would be interested in a large, not super muscular guy at 17 years old. At 17 years old. You know what I mean? She can't possibly be interested in me at all. So I was fine with whatever was going on. But I was mad at these two guys. They're my friends, and I rip shit. I'm out of my head. Now, these guys are built like linebackers. I'm not built like a linebacker. I'm big boy for 17, but I'm not a linebacker. And I charge at them, yelling at them, "How dare you, blah, blah." And they're laughing because they know I'm out of control for some stupid reason. I charge into one of them, start fighting one of them, and they're not trying to hurt me. They're just trying to keep me from hurting them. And they finally get, and her friend says, "They didn't do that." And I went, "Huh? Oh." And I turned to her, "What did they do?" She just got drunk and they dropped her out on her ass outside the door.
Mm.
Oh, okay. All right.
You jumped to conclusion too fast.
Mm.
My bad.
Is that why you ask her to marry you?
No. I asked. No. But basically, I basically said to this lady that okay, you can't stay on the street. You can stay in my cabin tonight. That'll be fine. Just
So did
and
you
her
get any?
friend came, and her friend said to me, if she doesn't verbally, she makes me promise that if she doesn't verbally say what she wants, you don't touch her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking she's not going to touch me. She's not going to try anything with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm underage. She's smart enough not to do something dumb and try to do something like that. And I'm not a handsome guy. There's no way she'd want to try anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I make the promise. This woman does everything but say what she wants.
Mm.
And then when I turn her over and basically say, look, if you don't say, and she's passed out.
Mm. You turned her over?
So, fuck. No, I rolled over onto her and said it.
Oh.
And next day she gets up and she is freaking out like she did something wrong. Try to tell her she did nothing wrong, but she freaks out about it. And then I tell her friend that, yeah, nothing happened. I kept my word. And I told her the story, and she was like, oh, man, if I wasn't drunk, I would have never made you make that promise. Fuck honor. Fuck my honor. Fuck.
Mm.
Did she want to have sex with you? Is that what she's saying?
She did everything but say she wanted it.
Mm.
Like, got on top of me and tried humping me with my clothes on.
Mm.
And I had to push her away because I'm keeping my word.
Mm.
Yeah, so when she said that I should have not tell you that, what
I
happened
would
next?
have never made you make that promise if I wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
It's like,
What happened next?
She could have said a lot of different things.
Did
She
you
could have
say
said,
it's not too late?
thank you. She could have simply said, thank you for keeping your word. Thank you for being such a nice guy. Just thank you would have been fine. Not, I should have never made you make that promise when I was drunk.
Yeah.
That's like a slap in the fucking face.
Did you
But I
answer
keep my
it?
word.
It's not too late.
Well,
No,
don't
this was
you
her
think she
friend,
was playing a
not her.
game? She was playing a game with you.
I don't know what she was doing. I don't know what the other drunker was doing. I just know her friend made a promise. I made a promise to her friend, and I kept it.
Oh, I see. It was to the
And
friend.
then she slaps me in the face with that promise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all she had to do was say, thanks, you're such a nice guy, something along those lines.
Quick
Then
hand
fine.
job.
But just saying, I'm sorry, I would have never made you make that promise if I wasn't drunk is like a slap in the face.
Mm. The
But I kept my
friend
word.
said that, or the girl said that?
Her friend made me make that promise.
But who said I would never have made you made that promise?
Her friend.
Oh.
So basically, she's saying, if I hadn't been drunk, I wouldn't have made you promise not to have sex with her.
No.
Yep.
That's a friend. Wait, Grodark, I'm having confusion here. Like then I think the one. Let's say there is Stephanie and Julie. Julie is a friend. Stephanie was drunk. Who said I shouldn't have made you promise that? Was it Stephanie or Julie?
Julie, the friend.
But if Julie hadn't said that, wouldn't the rule still apply?
Yeah, I think it would.
I would have made a promise. So I don't know what would happen. I would have just gone with the flow, whatever that lady wanted.
Mm. So when she's dry humping, you would have gone to wet humping.
I would have done whatever
natural.
she wanted. I wouldn't have stopped. Let's just say I wouldn't have stopped her and seen where it went.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I'm a 17-year-old boy, and she's hot.
Mm.
Did you call her back?
What does this have to do with what we were talking about? I don't get the time.
Well,
Yeah, I was gonna
we
say,
just banned someone.
Morality is based on honor. I didn't get that honor from Christianity. I didn't get that honor from my parents. I didn't get that honor from this. I got that honor from watching goddamn cartoons.
Yeah, based on
So the
based on
cartoons kept
Christianity,
you from getting
Grodark.
some in that.
Based on chivalry and Bushido.
Yes, those chivalry Bushido
are not Christian.
The reason why the cartoon
Bushido is not Christian.
Yeah, honor culture is different. Honor culture is different than
to
Christianity.
kids in your country is because of this morality from the Christian. The reason why
you're not listening, Luck. You're putting words over your mouth. You're not. You're saying a reason. No, my reason came from Bushido.
Kind of ideas are put in front of children is because Christianity is going for those ideas. If the idea was
Luke, you're not listening. I didn't get that morality from Christianity.
I heard you.
Don't say where that came from. It was not from Christian teachings. It was from a Japanese anime.
Grodark, I heard you. I heard you. The show wasn't a Christian show. I heard you. I heard you. I heard you. I heard you.
No, what
I heard you. Is that clear?
Christian
Good. So let me finish the idea. The idea was that because this show was shown to you, the reason why this show was allowed in your country, the reason why the show was imported to your country. Do you understand the difference between what you say and what I was saying while you were interrupting me? Do you understand?
I'm sorry, you're just wrong.
Yeah, you're demonstrably wrong.
Why is the show allowed?
Because of the First Amendment.
Why is the First Amendment there?
Because it's entertaining.
Yeah. Freedom of the press, freedom of expression.
Why is the First Amendment there?
I'm sorry.
Because of secular reasoning, not through Christianity.
Well, some Japanese porn is not allowed. Cartoons are not allowed.
Yeah, but I mean, I made a similar...
I like how you corrected yourself.
Okay, what cartoons are not allowed in America?
Well, you can't have cartoons of like bestiality or
really
children. I think
I probably learned more about morality from comic books than I ever did from the Bible.
Yes, sure.
Especially concepts like justice and stuff like that.
Sure. So what Catholics would call this, I think what you're talking about, Grok, is formation of conscience. We would say that various factors contribute to forming one's conscience. There's no space between us here. And your conscience ends up being how you decide what to do right or wrong. Right? So I'm not sure what the point is.
Yeah, but most humans have those moral intuitions is the point.
I agree.
No. I don't agree with moral intuition.
It's somewhat developed.
Morality is developed by the things around you. And most of my development for my morals did not focus on Christianity. It focused on actually the animes I watched.
Sure. Okay.
Now you add focus.
No, but even
now you add focus to your phrase.
It's not the case that it is innate.
It's not innate.
It is.
No, it's not innate.
Well, I'm sorry, the science disagrees with you, Grodark.
No, science does not disagree with me.
Yes, it does. I'll give you the source. I mean, this was my insight into this when I was struggling with this myself coming out of Christianity. This is the point I was trying to get to earlier, but I kept getting overtalked and everything else and never did get a chance to get back to the point I was trying to make. Like, the only thing that significantly changed was my understanding of the source of my morality. I was constantly taught growing up as a Christian that the source of that little voice, that conscience, was God. And it turns out, then I read an article that tells me no, it's actually quite natural, and it's even observed in other species. Here, I'll find the article here. Here it is, right here. I bookmarked it. And here's a specific citation right here.
Just like chimpanzees look like they have this kind of
Empathy, yeah.
Empathy and altruism.
Other
We have
species
we have
also exhibit the
empathy.
same similar behavior. So, yeah, here's the
Yeah, we have
conclusion.
empathy, but
Yeah,
they
that's
don't have.
the
But
basis of our morality.
that's a basis for some morality, yes. But my execution of that morality and the way I view that morality is not the same thing.
Well, what this article says, and I put it right here in the side. Although human nature has historically been seen as essentially selfish, recent science suggests that it is not. The capacity for empathy is believed to be innate in most humans, as well as some other species. Chimps, for instance, will protest the unfair treatment of others, refusing to accept a treat they have rightfully earned if another chimp doing the same work fails to get the same reward.
Right. We understand empathy. We know empathy is a base human nature.
Yeah,
I can agree
mirror
with that.
neurons, and other species have those mirror neurons.
Right. No, I understand that entirely. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how you execute one's morality and where it comes from.
Well,
I don't know that any of us disagree.
The basic block, yes, the basic building block is empathy, yes. But how many?
Being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, or put your empathize with someone else, gives us both our sense of compassion and justice.
Yes. How many 17-year-old boys would turn down a hot woman for any reason?
These days, lots.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's changed since the 90s.
Oh, it has. Yeah.
But the other thing, just real quick, while I'm thinking about it, before I lose my train of thought again, the other thing I wanted to get back to, or wanted to say earlier, is one of the problems I have is that, look, a lot of people see atheist or think atheist, and they think once an atheist, always an atheist, and that wasn't the case with me. I was a Christian for 40 years, and it wasn't until I hit 40 and I tried to reconnect with my faith as a kid, because life just kind of got in the way, but I never didn't stop. I always considered myself a Christian. I always held on to the thing, there was always that connection with the thing, the way I was raised. I remembered all that stuff and those lessons and stuff, but life just kind of got in the way. And it wasn't until later in life I had some personal stuff go on, and I tried to turn back to my faith as a kid and reconnect with that. And I actually, at 40 years old as a Christian, I had never read the Bible myself. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, right? It was basically spoon fed to me in church and Sunday school and stuff like that, and even in school. I went to a private Christian school too, so yeah, it was basically spoon fed to me. And it wasn't until I sat down and read the Bible for myself that all of a sudden all these things started jumping out of me that I was just blissfully unaware of. And that's when
you have the dug down sanitized version.
So yeah, I mean, and this is, and so to me, the real problem that I have now, after taking, I mean, I basically took a 2-year sabbatical, just trying to educate myself, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. And after 2 years, I mean, that was actually ended up being a deconversion process. It took me those 2 years was basically just me deprogramming myself.
Can I ask you a question about that, Sweet Zombie Jesus? What was your formation? Were you raised Baptist? I mean, what was the private?
Yeah, I was born and raised Baptist.
Okay, because I think,
I mean, but look, the point is, well, I looked at, I wasn't stuck in that, so don't think that was all there was to it, right? I looked at all the other, traditions and this and the other. I did a lot of comparative religious studies, trying to figure out what the truth was.
Yep.
And none of them, the apologetics tripped all over each other and themselves, they 2 left feet. I mean, they were in some places they contradict each other, right? And I'm like, what in the hell is going on here?
Can I just say, I do think that you're not unusual when you say you seem to think oh, well, I wasn't born an atheist. Yeah, I don't think it's unusual, and I find an amazingly similar pattern of people who come in from conservative Protestant sort of sects who then later, I would say, like it's almost like a reverse conversion, right? Like a deconversion.
That's why it's called deconversion.
Yeah, but it's not as much among
that is
Catholics and
basically what it
Orthodox
is.
because I don't
A
think
deprogramming.
Catholicism and
I
Orthodoxy.
had to teach
Good.
myself a whole lot in a very short amount of time, and I had
Yeah.
a lot of so yeah. I had to take like a kind of a jack of all trades, master of none approach,
Yep.
just to get up to speed with all the stuff that I was just, like I said, But that's the problem. It's what you don't know that gets used against you, and the biggest problem I have now, looking back in retrospect, because hindsight is 2020, is that people take faith so damn seriously that they'll, but they won't take it seriously enough to like actually educate themselves about their own core theology.
Mhm.
And this was my own realization after taking the time to actually educate myself and get up to speed. I was like, there was so much that I just didn't know and wasn't aware of. And the more I learned, the less I believed, unfortunately. I mean, that's just the way it works.
Not always,
Yeah,
but
I mean, well, I mean, have you ever read the Bible front to back?
Who you're asking?
You.
Oh yeah. I have a master's degree in theology, so I've studied it quite a bit.
Okay.
But I was raised Protestant,
yeah, I
but
mean,
then I converted to
I
Catholicism.
mean, we didn't spend a significant amount of time.
Oh, that's a
We
good.
spent a
That's
much
a
more
good
significant
side
amount of
then.
time in like
I
the
wish.
New Testament, right? We didn't spend a significant amount of time in the Old Testament, except like the major stories like Adam and Eve and the
Yeah.
flood and stuff like that, Jericho. I mean the major issue, the highlights, I guess you would say.
Can
But we
I
didn't
ask you
spend any time.
what would it be the things that you found most offensive about what you understood to be Christianity? Would it be something like God damning people to hell?
Well, I mean, yeah, and Richard. Well, I mean, there was actually a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Like when I sat down and read the
Pick
story of
one.
Abraham and Isaac, the binding of Isaac, and I really had to wrestle with that. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that was a real challenge. It's like if I was a father, and I am a father. It was
Right.
like, if God told me to sacrifice one of my kids, would I do it?
Right. Sure, that's
But did
perfectly
the priest
understandable.
told you when you talked about this story to them?
Yeah, there weren't any priests involved. I mean, at this point, I didn't really trust.
Yeah,
By
okay.
this time, I was sitting here reading on my own. I was like, and I didn't necessarily trust like the
But
the
did your
church,
reading
right?
information give you?
So the
I mean,
binding
yeah,
of
I
Isaac,
can
you
read
could
the stories
find.
for myself, and I can form my own conclusions about them.
Of course, yeah, you have to do that. But what I'm saying is, what provoked? I don't want to get into it, like I'm not trying to be personal, but something provoked you to try to reconnect. So like a kind of lack of meaning or something was incoherent, right? So you're trying to connect
Well,
back,
I just had
or just
no, like I
curiosity.
said, no, at 40, yeah, I got laid off. My wife filed for well, I mean, we were getting divorced. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
just one side or the other. It was a mutual split.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah,
So kind of a
my
midlife crisis.
my life was kind of
I'm in the middle of one
disintegrating
myself. So.
around me, and that was the only lifeline that I knew.
Sure. Sure.
I kind of reached for the only thing that I could think of to like hold on to or
Right.
try to, like
Try to make
kinda
sense
like
of
an
things that
anchor
had
or
fallen
something,
apart.
like try to steady myself through it.
Sure, yeah.
And instead, it turned into this entire deconversion thing,
Okay.
which I didn't, and trust me, I looked for anything I could
Mm-hmm.
to try to anchor my faith, and I kept coming up not only empty-handed, but all the actual evidence that I actually found was actually to the contrary.
Okay, but you know what's interesting
And
is
that's what I found most disturbing, right?
is the gentleman with the suit. He said, "Did you talk to a priest?" Which is interesting because that would be you turn to the Bible because that's what you're raised to do is to like right. So your faith comes from the Bible. For like Catholics and Orthodox and many Protestants, they would say, "Well, you have to be careful about reading the Bible if you're not trained in like scholarly training."
Yeah, right. Now here's the
Now,
reason they
there's
say.
a
Hold
reason
on.
they don't want.
Well, it's not easy to
Yeah,
read the
I
Book
think
of
there's a reason for
Revelation
that.
if you
They
don't
want to
understand
be the
like
gatekeepers of
apocalyptic
your
literature.
understanding, right?
No. Here's the reason. Okay, they have the power to convince you and translate it any way they want to keep you in the church.
No.
That is why they want to do it. They don't want you questioning anything in the Bible. They want you to question them.
Right?
They want to give you answers that they want to curate for you so that you stay in the church. That's it. That's why they don't want you doing it any other way. They don't want you reading for yourself, learning for yourself, or thinking for yourself. They want to do the thinking for you.
Do you think? I mean, you're saying all Christians want
slavery
to
in the Bible, and then I go to the verses, and lo and behold, there it is.
Yeah, there is
And
slavery
I'm
in the
sorry,
Bible.
I mean, to me, that was just undeniable. And I'm sorry, I'm not intellectually dishonest enough to sit there and like try to convince myself that's not what this says.
Of course, yeah, that's of course true. There was slavery in the Bible. I don't think any Christian would deny that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So for
there
you to be
are, trust
surprised
me,
by
yes,
it
I'm
surprises
glad.
me that like you'd be
good.
surprised by it.
There's plenty of
Yeah,
Christians
there are flat earthers.
that deny
Yeah,
it,
I understand.
and a lot
There are
of
flat
times
earthers
they
as
deny it.
atheists, yes.
They,
But when we say
I don't.
without Christian, we are not
I don't.
talking about
The
the
middle
fringe
of my
ones.
sentence wasn't. The middle of my sentence was at the beginning of yours, Luck. Yeah. No. So.
He disconnected.
Yeah, I really like that guy. So funny.
Now, Luck, I'm going to say this one more time. You interfere with people's talking, jump in the middle of their statements, and stuff like that is rude. You don't do it. You stop it.
A lot of people. A lot of people
but the
who.
statement was, what's going on? I think
Don't
I
worry about
couldn't
what my
hear
state.
the statement.
So, the people that deny slavery in the Bible, one, have never read it, so they don't even know. So they just outright deny it before even knowing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you show them that, they try to justify it in ways like, oh, well, that was the time. Well, if God is all knowing and all loving and all powerful, then he could have made a world without that in it.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey, Joe, give us a second.
Good. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, Ben, remember the other guy that stepped in here earlier that got himself recently banned for saying stuff? Like remember I told you about I muted him for basically lying about the Bible? Remember how he said that there were people that are being bought and sold and he didn't believe it, even though he just read it himself?
Oh, I remember that guy. Yeah, I didn't know that was the point.
That is the kind of person. That's the kind of person denies slavery. That is in the Bible. Completely denies it.
I can imagine there are people who.
Yeah.
There are a lot more than like that than accept
that would be the
on
second
hand.
one.
Sure, but I'm not saying that. But not. I would say it's a very small minority of Christians.
No,
that
it's a
would
majority of Christians.
Well, I'm not saying that would not in some way justify it, but that would deny it outright. That would just deny.
No, they deny it
that
outright
there's slavery.
because they don't read. Because nobody ever reads that part of the Bible to them. Nobody ever shows them that part of the Bible, and people generally don't actually read the Bible. They don't.
Okay,
they
but
just
very
take the
few
priest's word on it.
pastors would say there's no pastors or priests would say there's no slavery in the Bible. I mean, it's just impossible.
I don't know. I don't know what a preacher would say, perhaps, but I know they skip over it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they could de-emphasize it. Sure, they can
Lens
de-emphasize it. Sure.
When I was a kid, to not inform me of that. I mean,
There was even a
they skip
that
over.
never got talked about because I was blissfully unaware of it.
There was even
I
a
wish I could
sect
see the
in
numbers.
early Christianity that said the Old Testament was the evil God. It's called Marcionism. The Old Testament God was like the devil.
Yeah, the
and
demiurge.
that
He's
the
the same-
demiurge,
he's the
and that the
same
New
God,
Testament God. Right, I understand that's not considered orthodox. That was considered a heresy. But I'm saying that there are people who, as Christians, took that approach that like the New Testament was a defeating of the God of the Old Testament. Right? It's not orthodox. Really, no one has that approach today.
It's
But-
not even true. According to Christianity, it's not even true.
Right, that's a heresy. We would say Catholics would say that's heresy was firmly opposed. by the church.
Not even heresy. It's called a cop out. It's literally called a cop out and trying to,
Yeah, it's a cope. You could say it's a kind of cope. Yeah, like
Oh,
what do you
yeah,
do with all this stuff?
something,
What do you
guys.
do with all this
Can I-
stuff?
it's people. it's people lying to themselves to justify shit that is inherently evil.
Well, it
Can I
appears
talk
to
with
be,
the
yeah.
atheist?
Okay, so let's see if Joe's got a question. New question.
Okay,
Let's answer
so my
Joe.
question is, I'm an atheist too. At least I was born that way in the family that is that way. I'm trying to maybe find my way to spirituality. I haven't decided fully yet. So that's my position just at the start. So my question for you is, if there is no God, right? If there is no afterlife, if there is no heaven, no hell, all of this is bullshit. So what's the harm in believing that, right? Because you have these two options. It's either real or it's not real. So you either believe and you go to heaven, or you don't believe, you don't go to heaven, or nothing happens. So
Pascal's wager, really?
Yeah, that's Pascal's wager.
So why not believe if it doesn't
there's
matter?
a lot of problems with Pascal's wager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, if you try to use Pascal's wager, which is a real theist thing to do, and if you're learning about being a theist, that's rude. But if you're actually taking it on point, the problem is that there are so many other religions that you can choose from that it's not a 50-50 wager. If you want to be on the safe side, you'd be an atheist.
Yeah, but there's no ultimate benefit.
Because atheist still has a 50-50, is still 50% chance.
Well,
and you have
I
a
think
0.01% chance to pick the right God.
It is an interesting
but
question.
if
What
you
is
are
the selling?
atheist, you are 100% choose no God.
No,
right?
no, you're screwed either way.
Oh,
Here's the problem. Here's the real problem.
The reason, real quick before my shit goes off. Real quick, that the harm in believing is convincing yourself of things that have not been shown to be evidently true, and then lying to yourself, and then with that ignorance, teaching others like your kids that those things are that your lies are evidently true. So you have a multiple generation of ignorant people that are just lying to themselves day in and day out.
Well, can I follow up on that and say
that is very fucking harmful? No, you cannot. No, you cannot. So that would be the harm in it.
I could imagine someone. Good. I could imagine.
The other advantages of not believing is your Sunday's free.
Yeah, or Saturdays.
You have an extra day free. I mean,
maybe
also less fear.
Could you formulate it this way? What if could you imagine an atheist actually raising his kids with Christian belief, so that he says God loves you, he doesn't believe in it, but for the sake of the kids, he tells them the story. Grandma went to a better place. God loves us. Do you see what I'm saying? I could imagine someone doing that and saying well, it may not be true, but I don't want to tell my kids that grandma's just in the dirt.
I might be doing that. I have 8 months old daughter. I might be doing that in the future.
No,
the problem is you're not preparing them to actually cope with the challenges of life.
Okay.
Well, but
usually
studies have proven that religious people are better
hold on.
suited to deal with the problems of life.
No.
They are.
No, if you think about it this way,
Ben,
if I had a kid and their animal died, I say, look, it's died, it's dead, it's not coming back. I know it's sad, I know it hurts, and you know what? We can get another animal in a little while, and we might bury it or something, so they know where it is.
Yeah.
They understand how life ends. That life does end.
Well, let me use that as an example, because Christians don't believe that animals are resurrected and are in heaven, right? But I might say that to a kid just to say that your little puppy is up in heaven with grandma and your aunt. I wouldn't really have a problem with saying that.
See, this is where
even though that would be a lie. I don't believe that.
That's where the lie comes in. Okay,
it's a
lie, but I don't have a problem with it.
Why would It's like the Santa Claus. Is it? Would we tell our kids he doesn't exist just because that's the real world, or
yes. Hands down.
Absolutely, actually. I mean, yeah.
But are children
yeah.
crushed when they
Look at
find
me.
out?
Okay,
Yeah,
hold on.
I did not see.
Hold on, look at me, and I will say Santa Claus does not exist.
Well, Saint Nicholas did exist as a
I had
historical
atheist
figure.
parents, and I believed in, Santa Claus. Well, not Santa Claus. We had like little Jesus, whatever.
Joe,
So-
look at me, and I will say Santa Claus does not exist.
Well, Saint Nicholas was a
know
historical
that.
figure. But you
Nicholas might have been a real person.
Yeah.
He might have been a real person.
But the guy
Now,
who slides
you know
down
where
the chimney.
sainthood
The
came
guy who
from?
slides down the
You know
chimney.
where doesn't exist. That
Right.
wasn't what Nicholas did.
But here's the thing: when older kids in a family find out that that whole thing is a lie, they generally join in the gag. They don't go around saying
On
like
the lie,
like an
right?
atheist, like
Yeah.
"My God, you lied to me," and go and tell the little kids. Right? Only an asshole would do that. Most of the older kids like join in the fun, and they think it's really fun to put the milk out and do all the bullshit lying.
Yeah,
Because it's fun and it's kind of cute, even though it's a lie.
Well, it's
I also want to say
that's kind of interesting.
on
might
the
have been
surface, that might be the cope.
Where the
Because you
atheist
really
kind of
get
kid
away
is
with,
like,
being
running around telling little kids in a playground like Santa's a fake, and they're
Not necessarily.
And they're saying
It's
like,
a
"Hey
possibility
kid,
they do
hey
that,
kid,
but
I
it's
gotta
not
prepare you
necessarily
for
true."
life. Ain't no Santa Claus coming down no chimney. Ain't nobody care about you, right?" And it's kind of like a bitter sort of playground scene.
Hold on. Here's what I would say to a child who asks me if Santa Claus is real. I say, Santa Claus is as real as the Easter Bunny, which means he's not real. But he's a fun imagination that people have fun with during Christmas time as a way to enjoy a holiday with a mascot. Just like Easter and the Easter Bunny.
And then the kid goes crying away, totally sad.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. The kid might actually understand that, look, yeah, it's not real, but that's okay. It's fun. It's a good idea as fun.
But why would you have
And
to
there's nothing wrong
interject?
with
Why wouldn't you let the
imagination.
kid? Why wouldn't you let the kid get old enough to say like, "Well, how does a fat man come down the chimney?" You know what I mean? Why not?
Did you not hear what I said?
I heard what you said. You
Yeah, you
crushed,
break the lie.
you crushed
what I
the
said.
kids. You crushed his
You
soul.
You did not hear what I said. I said if a kid came to ask me if Santa Claus was real.
Yeah, he wouldn't go out and tell him out of his way, but I get it.
I
but
wouldn't go out of
still.
my way to tell the kid, no,
Oh, okay.
Santa Claus is not real.
I see what you're saying.
If
Yeah.
the kid asked, I also wouldn't go to the point of, pretending Santa Claus brought presents by signing Santa Claus to the cards. I wouldn't do it.
What if you were the uncle and your niece and nephew's
I am an uncle.
or what if your niece and nephew's parents want to do that, like Santa Claus routine for their little kids, and the little kids come to you and go, "Uncle Grockstar, is Santa Claus real?" Would you?
Well, first, please get my name right.
crush
You
them?
keep butchering it.
Oh, sorry. Dark, Grodark?
Grodark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Would you feel like at least a qualm before you just like squashed their souls to say like maybe I'll just be agnostic here, or maybe I'll just say like I don't know. You would have to say
A
like,
little lie. doesn't
"Mommy and
hurt.
Daddy are liars."
My nephew's
It's
never
all a
came
lie.
to ask. Okay, my
Yeah,
nephews,
we're
my
taught from a
niece
very
and
early
nephews
age
never
to
came to
start
ask me that.
lying to others and to ourselves.
Okay.
This is part of the problem with
Hold
our
on.
culture.
Hold on. My nieces and nephews never came to ask me that. Though if they did come to ask me that, I would have said, he's not real, but it's okay. Imagination is fun.
Crush.
That's why you don't talk to your brother and sister anymore.
You ever heard this? Look, there's this saying by this guy named Krishnamurti. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
I mean, do you guys really think the Santa Claus myth, which I would acknowledge is a myth, is like a profound sickness in our culture?
No, that's why I wouldn't go around and tell.
Guys, it's so rough.
Well, first off, yeah, you're passing.
That's
off,
why I
I
wouldn't.
mean, this is another
I acknowledge
example
it's a
of
myth.
passing off
I acknowledge it's. I'm not
facts.
defending it. It's not a
Okay,
Christian story. It was made up by like marketers, I think, in the 20th century.
Made up by Christians, right?
Well, the
Hold on,
modern
hold on,
down
hold
the
on.
chimney and the red suit and all that stuff. There was a Saint Nicholas.
That's like pagan stuff. Pagan
hold
stuff.
on.
There was a guy named Tom Flynn who did a deep dive into the history of Christmas and wrote a book called The Trouble with Christmas. It was an expose on exactly how Christmas was, all these Christmas myths and stuff were invented by just this small handful of people, right? Much the same way the Bible was invented.
Okay, so the one they call Saint Nicholas, was a practice done by, I think, some Germanic people, or someplace around Germany, if I remember correctly, where he would make little wooden toys for good children and pass them out during his time of year.
Sure, that might have been you're saying it's a pagan myth?
No, it's not a pagan myth.
Oh.
This guy did this.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It's a real person that did this.
Okay.
He made wooden toys for good children, and he'd give them a lump of gold for the bad ones. That's an actual story that actually happened.
And he was a priest or something?
No, he was just a toy maker. But he'd give poor children that were good a wooden toy.
Okay.
As far as I understand, that's what it is.
Well,
then there was, but that wasn't. He wasn't even do that on Christmas. He just give it out at a certain time of the year.
And
But
what was the
we don't know what
miracle?
time of year it was.
If he's saint, he had to perform a miracle, right? So
No. Hold on. We'll get to saints later.
Have to permit a miracle.
We'll get to sainthood later, and sainthood is horrible.
Yeah. But the Saint Nicholas thing comes from Saint Nicholas of Myra, who was a bishop in Turkey.
No.
It may have gotten blended with this other guy.
No.
Well, you can look it up. He's an
It's not.
historical
That's not
figure.
Saint
Yeah.
Nick.
Okay.
Yes,
He was
yes,
in
I
the
know,
300s AD.
Well, even that's a myth, but
You don't
I
think
don't know
there was a
about that. I don't know
bishop?
about that guy.
A bishop in Turkey?
no, the whole part about him punching.
What is-
there was this whole thing about him punching Arius in the nose at the Council of Nicaea, and that's as far as I can tell, that's completely ahistorical.
That may be true. The story
What's
I know
the
that has to
source?
do with Saint Nicholas, that has to do with Santa Claus loosely, is that he became aware that there was a family that was really, really poor who were about to sell their daughters into prostitution, and he opened the window and kind of snuck little gold coins into their house that they then found so their daughters wouldn't have to become prostitutes. That sounds like it could be kind of a legend, but it could be based on reality. I do think there was this bishop.
Let's see what they say about Legend of Saint Claus.
Well,
Not
I
Saint
mean,
Nicholas. They call him
Nicholas.
Saint Claus.
Claus comes from Nicholas, right?
The story behind Santa goes back to the 3rd century during the time of Saint Nicholas.
Could you give me the source, Grodark, please?
Sure.
Yeah, just tell us. Is it Wikipedia? Is it Google? What website?
I'll just link the source. It is.
Can you stop fucking over talking him every time?
Stadiumlibrary.org. I don't know what that means. I don't know where it is. It might be a religious site for all I know. But the story behind Saint Nick, that Nicholas a monk, even though some sources state that he was a bishop, Nicholas was born around 280 AD in Patara, in modern day Turkey. Legend states that Nicholas was given spirits and traveled countryside, helping those less fortunate and the sick. Nicholas' parents were wealthy and left the bulk of their estate to Nicholas. He died. Nicholas also had a spirit of giving, took his inheritance and gave those less fortunate and lived life of humility. December 6th marks his anniversary of Nicholas's death. But the time of the Renaissance, St. the 4th, I don't know what ST stands for, the 4th on June 5th, 1446, and became known as the patron saint of children and sailors. Waves of Europeans immigrated, brought St. Nicholas's birth holiday tradition to America. By the end of the 18th century, St. Nicholas was recognized in American culture in December 1773 and December 1774, it was reported that groups of Dutch families of New York gathered to honor the anniversary of his death. The name Santa Claus was stated to evolve from Nick's Dutch name Sinterklaas and shortened to Sint Nicholas, which was translated in Dutch name to Saint Nicholas.
Yeah.
Can I open?
That's one origin story of the time of Saint Nicholas. But the fact that he had nothing to do actually with Christmas, is there. There's also another Nicholas that was a supposed Nicholas that was in a Germanic nation that gave wooden toys to kids.
Yeah.
During a certain time of year.
It got blended, maybe. It got blended.
Like yeah, they got blended. That's where the Santa Claus mythos comes from. The entire mythos itself.
And the feast day being on December 6th is close to Christmas, so maybe that's where it got blended. Because I know traditional Catholic families.
Now the 25th. Now the reason for the 25th for Christmas, due to 25th is usually really close to the winter equinox, which was pagan worship. Was pagans usually worshipped the end of the fall, beginning of winter.
Right. No.
And that was a celebration that most pagans had of some sort. So the Catholic Church took that and said, hey, let's convert people by saying there's a holiday on that day so they can celebrate too after they convert. So they're not so upset about it.
It's the return of light.
Same with
it's
Easter.
The return of light. The equinox is when the days start getting longer.
No. It's the end of light. It's the winter equinox.
The 21st is when it stops getting shorter days and they start getting longer.
No.
You have more sunlight.
Not the equinox. The equinox.
The winter solstice.
In the fall and spring.
The solstice is when the days are the shortest. On the 21st, the day is the shortest, and then light starts returning, and by the 25th, it's a few minutes longer. Yeah.
No, there's 3 months. There's 3 months in between that. There's 3 months in between that.
And those are in the summer and winter. The equinoxes have equal length day and night.
Right.
And those occur in the spring and fall.
Right.
There's
so the solstice is the shortest day.
Shortest day.
And then after the light starts returning.
Or I'm sorry, the winter solstice.
Yeah. Well, winter solstice is the middle, like basically the darkest part of winter.
So in the northern hemisphere, it makes sense to have a pagan celebration when the light returns.
Right.
And there was one.
Now, no, that's not when the light returns. That's spring solstice, the beginning of harvest.
But the light starts returning after the 21st.
It starts returning.
Okay,
and then the spring solstice is another celebration of return of life, when the flowers start to bloom and all that stuff happens.
Exactly. In the northern hemisphere,
taken over by Easter.
In the southern hemisphere, it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but the problem is Rome's in the north, with the Catholic Church is in the north.
But you can say that is what the Roman Empire did.
This is where they stole them from.
Okay.
They stole the Catholic Church stole these
but it could
to convert people.
Okay, you can say that, but it could be that Jesus was born on December 25th.
No, you can't.
Is there a stealing?
You can't.
How do you know that?
You can't say that.
How do you know
because
that?
There's no documentation of it.
Well, okay, but there's no documentation against it either. There's no documentation against it.
Right,
either.
but the thing is, where is it located? Again, where is the where that area is located?
Jesus was born in Bethlehem. I don't think that's the southern hemisphere.
It is the northern hemisphere.
The Mediterranean is not the southern hemisphere.
By the way, hold on. Ben, you are absolutely positively incorrect in the thing that you said. The reason actually why we know that if Jesus actually existed, but how we know he did not was not born on December 25th.
Yeah.
Actually has to do with all of the constellations that are mentioned in that story and when and where they can actually be seen.
There are no constellations mentioned in the New Testament.
How far is 2,000 miles roughly from the equator?
quite a distance.
Would that be considered on the equator?
2,000 miles
For most
is
part?
approximately LA to California. It's a long way. I mean, LA to New York. It's like 2,000 miles. It's not close.
You think the birth stories of Jesus didn't mention any like stars within a constellation?
They didn't mention a constellation, but they do mention a star, which it's unclear what is being talked about.
Something like that.
Right, and what makes up a constellation?
Stars.
Yeah, but that's not that. He's right.
Shut up, Joe.
It's not a
I-
constellation. It's
hold-
like 3 stars appears in the sky or something.
Well, it's unclear what it is. It is called a star.
Joe, so
go ahead.
Yeah, those are 3 stars that. Joe, I don't need you to interrupt. I don't need you to like fanboy for that. So
I'm sorry if you feel like that. I don't fanboy for that.
What you did? You jumped in, interrupted me, so you can.
Yeah, it's a little further than north of Florida.
Irrelevant.
I'm sorry, man.
It's a little further north than Florida, so. Yeah.
I live in Florida. It's not the southern hemisphere, but it feels like it.
So,
you would have seasons.
The stars that make up, the constellations, and the story, and knowing the stars that they're referring to within those constellations, we actually can go back and pinpoint when they could be seen from, any, that given area, and that's how we know.
No, there's no astronomical evidence that you can use to.
Couldn't be.
No.
Yeah, don't motherfucker! If you interrupt me like that one more time.
I thought you finished.
Actually, I've talked with people that talk about this.
Nobody's interrupting.
So,
you're always screaming and making a rowdy fucking mess.
Actually, he does.
No, you just keep taking these 2-minute long.
I just don't think that's. I just don't think that's true.
The voice came out and Ben over talked. Okay, hold on.
I literally was in the middle of talking, and these 2-minute monologues. By the way, this is my room, and if I want to take 10 minutes in monologue, I have that ability. So get the fuck over yourself. Now, let's try this again, Ben, without your interruption.
Okay.
Yes, we actually know what stars they were referring to in constellations, and you can actually go back and find out where they were in the sky and if they were visible from a given area. That is actually how we know that the stars that they were referring to could not be seen from that area. So he was definitely not born on December 25th. Actually, we know that it was around, Easter.
What was the
I don't
what
think
was the what is it? It's not astrology, it's what?
Astronomy.
Astronomy.
I don't think astronomy was advanced at that time to where they had constellations and that sort of stuff. I think that came later.
Actually, it is.
There were some astronomical
Actually, it
observations.
is.
Because they had a calendar.
They wrote. Hey Ben.
Yes.
There's actually a program that you can what's it called? Not timeanddate.com, but there's one that actually maps out all of the constellations and the known sky.
Mm-hmm.
And you could actually go and look and type in the date.
Yeah, I believe you.
And it'll actually tell you which one it is.
I just don't think the Israelites had
where
that
it can
knowledge.
be seen.
Yeah, sure.
So yes, astronomy. I don't give a fuck. Hold on. You didn't say anything about the Israelites. You could say, well, they could say that he was born on the 25th. And I'm telling you why no one can actually say that Jesus was born on the 25th for the reasons that I gave. And you were like, no, yes, yes, yes.
Okay, but I don't even think the Roman Empire, the Roman Empire had the means to navigate using constellations at that time. I may be wrong, but I don't think that's true. They were the elites of the time, and they didn't have that knowledge.
This is irrelevant to the. Hey Ben, hey Ben.
Yes.
You're doing that thing where I just said we're not talking about the Israelites, the Holy Roman Empire, or the Roman Empire, or anybody else. We're talking about here and now. We can definitively say Jesus was definitely not born on December 25th for all the reasons that I gave that you said no to.
No, that's not true, because you said that the scriptures refer to constellations, and they don't.
No other civilization.
They don't.
No other time period. No, that it actually is true.
They don't refer to constellations. I mean, I may be mistaken, but I don't think they. I just don't think in the Bible as a whole you find any reference to constellations. But stars, yes.
I already.
Oh, you actually no.
You don't fucking listen.
That's not true.
You don't fucking listen.
Orion.
The thing is, we can pinpoint individual stars. Okay.
Yeah.
And I even changed it. You dumb fuck that
doesn't
you're right.
Listen. You're right. I'm wrong.
Hey Ben, I'm going to say it.
You're right. I'm wrong. There are constellations mentioned.
It don't matter. It don't matter. I know. Hey Ben, shut the fuck up. Shut up, Ben. Shut the fuck up, Ben. Because here's the point. Here's the thing. I don't give a fuck whether there was constellations or not. I even changed it because I even knew that there were constellations mentioned there. But I said, regardless of constellations, these particular stars that are mentioned that make up a constellation, we can map them out using software programs, and trace it back. So for you to go, what? Well, they don't mention constellations. I already addressed that. Okay. Yet you brought it up again.
Okay, I agree with you.
Like the disingenuous asshole that you really are.
I agree with you that you could probably determine what the constellations were on December 25th of whatever the year Jesus was born, 1 AD or whatever. I think it's like 6 AD. I absolutely think you can probably do that. How does that tell you what day he was born on? Like whether he was born on that day? If you have a perfect idea of where the Big Dipper was and Orion and all those things, how would that disprove the Bible? It doesn't say that the Big Dipper was rising or the moon was waning or any of that
because
stuff.
If you can't see it, hey dumbass, I'm gonna tell you. Hey dumbass, I'm gonna tell you, because if Orion's belt actually couldn't be seen from the middle, hey dumbass, I'm gonna tell you, because if Orion's belt couldn't be seen on in the Middle East on December 25th, the supposed year that he was born, then that means he couldn't have been born there on that day. So you would actually have to find out when Orion's belt could actually be seen from that given area.
Why couldn't he have been born?
And what we find out is that it actually could be seen.
Why couldn't he have been born if Orion's belt wasn't visible? I don't understand.
Astronomical and historical evidence suggests that the Star of Bethlehem was a comet which was visible in 5 BCV description of the ancient Chinese record. A comet uniquely fits the description in Matthew of the star which newly appeared, traveling slowly through the sky against the sky's background and stood over Bethlehem. It is proposed that the remarkable sequences of the 3 astronomical events simultaneously joining the Magi, the triple conjunction of Saturn, Jupiter in 7 BCV, the massing of the 3 planets Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars in 6 BC, and finally the appearance of the 5 BC of the Star of Bethlehem. Comet initially in Capricornus. It is shown that each of these events would have been rich significance to the Magi. The combination would have provided very clear signs that they might new king is about to be born in Israel. The evidence pointing to Jesus being born in the period of 5 BC, March 9th or May 4th. Probably announced provided time 5 BC, April 13th to 27th. The birth of the spring is considered to be the account in Luke that there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flock by the night. Birth in 5 BC, also considered with the census of Caesar Augustus. The date of the narrative presented here enables new chronological of the life of Christ to be constructed, which is consistent with the available evidence. So he was born sometime 5 BC, either between March 9th and May 4th, or April between 13th to the 27th.
I would agree that that's evidence. I would agree that
near December.
If there weren't shepherds out around December 25th, typically, then I would say that's evidence against December 25th. But the church has never defined December 25th. It's not in the scriptures, and so it could be wrong.
They define it
No,
as
no.
This is why there is. This is why the celebration of his birth is in December.
It's not, but it's not just that.
They stole it.
Okay, but I mean, yes, the church says we're going to celebrate it on December 25th. The church says we're going to do it on December 25th, but the church has never claimed that we definitely know that on December 25th of the year 5 or whatever that Jesus was born. So
but they
it's sort of
made
you
this
could say maybe it was arbitrary.
It wasn't arbitrary. They used it to steal pagan holidays.
Sure, maybe it was done to replace the holiday at the time, since they didn't know the date.
That's what it
Since
was.
they didn't know the date, what they did
do.
is baptize something that kind of made sense to replace.
No, it's what churches do.
Stole holidays and religion ceremonies of other nations to cause converts.
Yeah. Okay. So, like for example, in China, they have the
theft.
You know they have the worship of the ancestors. When the Jesuits came to China, they said, okay, that's like the worship of the saints, right? So yes, Catholics
and again, they appropriated. Appropriated, stole, changed, manipulated, whatever you want to call it, bad.
Marketed. I would call it marketing.
Not just because of the Chinese worshiping their ancestors. No. It also was due to taking over the spot of demigods and heroes.
Absolutely. Yes.
From the old tales.
All right.
Yeah.
Because Samson sounds a lot like Hercules.
When Christianity encountered Taoism, the Tao,
it is.
The Tao,
Ben,
we took that to be
Ben,
logos, like logos, like the word.
Hang on a second.
So definitely, it was not. We didn't invent it.
All right, Ben, hang on a second. So
you hold on. Ben, you say you're a theological scholar of this stuff, right?
Yes, I have a master's degree.
And why haven't you learned this? Because this I know is not theology. In actual theological studies.
My emphasis is not on biblical theology.
Then what's it based on?
What did I focused on church history. But I'm not a super expert. I'm not.
This should be taught in church history too. Because this was stolen for the church.
I didn't.
Yeah, then
that's how I know Nicholas of Smyrna.
Then you would know that the church. Yeah. So then you would know that churches and the church in and of itself has a very rich history of hijacking or stealing, significant dates of other religions.
Sure, yeah. We would call it baptizing,
as they are kind of overtaking them and overpowering them and writing them out.
Just fluff it up in a new name to make it
sound. I mean, it's marketing. It's marketing. Yeah. The church wants to make it as easy as possible.
No, it's not marketing.
Well, the church wants to make it as easy.
It's not marketing. Like use whatever word you want to try and sanitize it, but it's hijacking and theft. No matter how
so you think the church should
you can put lipstick on a pig, but it still ain't going to make it a woman.
So you think the church should apologize to the Greco-Roman pantheon for, like, let's say appropriating whatever that would be, that like, who cares? What, like, yeah, it's called marketing. They wanted to succeed, and they wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to convert.
Well, I care. I care.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to lie to people and hijack other cultures?
Absolutely.
Things like their other rich history.
Way easier to hijack a culture than to introduce a foreign culture.
Right.
So, for example,
Ben, hold on, Ben.
Yeah, go ahead.
If somebody stole,
more reason why your church is a liar.
Okay, hold on. Would you find it okay?
Well, the church is slick. You could say the church. Is
would you find it okay? Would you
founded
find
by
it
Jews,
okay?
after all.
Would you find it okay if someone stole $30 from your pocket?
$30.
Just $30 from would you find it okay if they just stole $30 from your pocket?
Yeah.
And then said thanks for the donation.
If someone stole an idea of mine, if someone
can
stole,
I interject just for a second?
No,
Give you a fresh perspective.
It's not a fungible good. It's not a fungible good. It's more like stealing an idea. It's more like intellectual property.
No. You're not answering the question. Would you be upset if somebody did that?
No.
They took $30 out of
Yes,
your
I
pocket
would.
and
Yes,
said thanks.
yes, I would. Yes, I would.
You'd be upset.
Yes.
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 Same thing, Baker scale.
Well, would an artist be upset if another artist like a musician, another artist should white rock musicians like be accused of stealing the blues
You
from
mean
black
the cultural
musicians?
appropriation? You mean the cultural appropriations when the people that actually made the songs didn't get paid for it, and the rich white guy did? Oh, fuck yeah!
Well, I mean, it's more complicated than that.
No, it's not more complicated than that.
Elvis stole
Elvis Presley,
the blues? No.
Elvis
Guys,
Elvis didn't steal the blues. Hold on. Elvis Presley didn't steal the blues. Elvis Presley sold songs from black artists, pure songs that were already written, that they were singing in their shacks and stuff.
He was singing like a
Stole
nigger.
it.
Elvis Presley was a damn nigger, bro. It's the truth.
I can sing a song that was written by someone else and make a lot more money than they made on it. That's legal, right?
No, hold on.
It's called a cover. It's called a cover.
I'm not talking covers.
Yeah.
A cover means that somebody else actually sang it on record and was able to make money off of it first.
Yeah.
He went to these places where they could not get signed to a record label because they were black.
Well, it was a smaller market. It was called Negro music.
Stole their songs, didn't change a lick of them, played them straight up, and made money off of them.
There was black music.
I don't really think that's what Elvis did. I don't
any respect, give even any respect or financial aid to those particular people that he took the music from.
Are you saying all the songs of Elvis were written by black people? That's not true.
No, not all of them.
No,
not all of them.
Let's drop the
But
Elvis.
he did
Please,
steal
let's
some.
get back on track. Can I interject?
Well, if he took songs like there were rules, there were laws, like they would have to pay. Whatever.
There
were some.
There were black musicians before Elvis Presley. There were black musicians before him. So obviously, some musicians made it, right? It's like I'm not apologizing like the American racism of the 50s, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. There has been, black mayors, black sheriffs, black people in power long before Elvis Presley. So let's drop this and let me give you.
There were no laws protecting these artists. But if you were a white artist, you were completely protected.
There were some. The issue there is that there was what are called.
I want to present this idea, which is kind of, I think you guys gonna like it. So it's about Christianity, right? So I think there are two Christianities, right? There's the Christianity for the mob, and the Christianity for the people in the monasteries, the people who know how to read and write and research, and for us basically in the modern age, right?
Yeah.
And I think when you look at the Christianity from this point of view, where for 1,000 years people couldn't read
Yeah.
right? They
Mhm.
couldn't write, like, most of them, and the only interaction they had with the Bible was like there was a preacher in their village.
Mhm.
He would sometimes read them Bible, but they would mostly like debate the Bible. It was like a Bible study, right?
They
So
couldn't debate the Bible.
and
They
No,
didn't
you're
really.
wrong.
They
well,
didn't
No,
really
they
it
do
would
wasn't.
that.
debate the
No.
Wasn't
Bible
debating the
because I
Bible.
will tell you one
It
thing.
wasn't.
In
It
my
wasn't.
country, we started a revolution against the Catholicism. We were the first country to do it. It's called the Hussite Revolution, right?
Joe,
And it started from the priests like debating the Bible because the
Mhm.
Catholic Church introduced the way that you can pay for your sins. Like you can spend gold to have your sins forgiven, and the
Not
Hussites and these
exactly, but
priests.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but this
Indulgences.
right?
Indulgences.
They were against it. Yeah, they were against indulgences. They started a revolution, win their religious rights. It's a big thing in my country, major part of the history. So I just want to say, these people in the villages, they can't read, they can't write, and the only interaction they get by the from the Christianity is that this priest is giving them like these proverbs that these guys are remembering, like don't do to others what you don't want them to do to you, and do this, do that, and it's these kinds of like proverbs, and I find them useful for these kinds of people. So
Well,
why
and
is it
also
so
like
bad?
stained glass windows. Stained glass windows were the poor man's Bible, right? You can't read and write, but you see the windows and you see the story in stained glass.
Maybe you see the stories. Maybe you see the stories actually. Maybe you
Well, you
see
see
the
a
stories as
picture.
it's intended by the person who put them together.
It's like a picture
Who
book.
knows?
It's a picture
No,
book.
Joe.
Yeah.
The problem with that is.
You
Hold
can
on.
call it
Patrick,
propaganda
you're
if
breaking
you
up
want.
bad.
You can call it propaganda if you want. Yeah, but it was.
Joe, what I'm going to say about this is this, okay? That there were preachers. I don't know all of them did this, but a lot of them did. They preached for power.
Sure, there was a
They
lot of abuse.
literally wanted
Absolutely.
to control the masses, control the people of the towns and the villages. They wanted to collect a tax from them.
Sure.
This is why tithing was invented. So they didn't have to actually work for anything. They just said a few lines on Sunday, and they got all the money that could be spared by the town into their pockets.
Well, some of them didn't work very hard. Some
No,
priests worked very hard.
I said some. I said some.
Yeah.
And those
But-
ones
but
made the
Grok-
church look really, really bad.
That's true. That's
Then there
true.
were ones that were poor that preached that nobody listened to because they didn't look like preachers because
True.
they were poor.
True. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's true of all institutions throughout
And
time.
now this has evolved into televangelists who we know half of them are just con men.
Grodark, we kind of got off topic a little bit. We kind of went down a rabbit hole with. Can we get back to the Pascal's wager thing? Because there was a point I wanted to make earlier.
Oh yeah, Joe brought up Pascal's wager. Go ahead.
I think he's very.
I gotta go
Yeah,
by with
I just wanted to point
The other
out.
two
It
are
seems to me like, as far as I can tell, you're kind of screwed either way. Because and the reason I say that
Hey, Jay,
is,
Ben?
like if you're
Hey, Ben?
just like
Hey, Ben?
wagering to
Hey, Ben?
like supposedly like so-called hedge your bets. Well, first off, I don't even think I can like
I know.
consciously choose my beliefs, right?
I know.
I'm what's called a
Hey, guys?
doxastic involuntarist.
Hey,
I'm
motherfucker.
either convinced or I'm not. And if I'm just not convinced, I can't just choose. Like I can't choose to stop believing.
Guys, I got a very generous donation to go to the gym nearby. It's $25 each for a week-long pass. And I know I promised that I would go tonight, but I'm thinking about it, and my dad has this show in 3 hours, which I wasn't thinking about at the time. So fuck. I wanted to go take a shower. It's only open till 8:30. We didn't talk about the gym in here. Let me see. I don't want to disappoint the donator. Let me see. I don't want to dox it either, but I think I can show a picture of it. It's a really nice gym. I mean, like, I definitely don't have to go to this one, but it's like in a loft. And my brothers used to go there. Oh, okay. Another successful grift. Oh, you don't give a shit. Okay, good. Yes. I mean, I care that RV is stinky. I don't know if I can tear my dad away from the computer. He's full on Discord, bro. RV is so stinky. And they ask why I talk shit on your name. I know that I know. Look at my hair, bruh. It's not funny. Oh, also, my toner is arriving today. It looks like straw. It's so ugly. Ugh. In fact, I put my life savings on it. Why don't you just go and let him fend for himself? Because we're supposed to go to the gym together. Plus, he needs a shower more than me. The RV is stinky. Why did the debate end? I just paused it. Grodark is so fucking lit. I love that guy. What should we eat today? You're living in the clogged shitter. I'm gonna be a basic gym girl.